have to ask ourselves, have we ensured the basic survival of our employees? Once that is taken care of, the next thing comes, we inspire them. And as leaders, you are the first line of inspiration for your employees. Speeches like mine, the sermons like these, these offer only as temporary inspirations. This is not a permanent long-term solution. This is only to fire up the people for the time being so that they could move on to the next step. So meaning that these sermons, these speeches serve only as triggers. These are not permanent solutions. Permanent solutions come after that. These external motivators serve the purpose for repetitive work. And I believe in your line of work, there is a lot of repetition. When you have to meet a certain number of calls every day, there is an incentive for that. But we are talking about only repetitive sort of manual work. When we talk about the work that you feel good about, comes only through intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation, meaning external factors, wherein a manager has, again, all right, if you make 10 calls, you will get, certain number of dollars or certain number of rupees. As against that, the intrinsic motivation is compelling that person, I have to achieve a certain goal. And that goal could be a livelihood for my family, a better house for my family, or because I want to be good at what I do, representative, or I'm a manager, I want to do the best that is expected of me. And that is a motivation, but that comes only through what they call a deliberate effort, because there is no outcome without a deliberate effort. Deliberate effort comes only from within. But external motivators, boss asking, or I have to get this incentive, that is not a deliberate effort. That is somebody imposing that effort on you. So now, after all that, now we come down to the actual pathway to motivation. The pathway to motivation is not a straight lane. It's a meandering 5-lane highway. So it takes turns and ups and downs and curves and troughs and troughs. All of these are part of this 5-lane highway. And the first lane on this highway is the purpose. Now we are coming to the solution part of it. And I'm not talking about your purpose. I'm not talking about the company's purpose. I'm talking about that person's purpose, that representative's purpose. What is his purpose? His purpose is in most cases is the livelihood for himself and for his family. In most cases. And as a manager or as a boss or as a leader, you have to show respect to his purpose. Your purpose, honestly, is not his purpose. So being honest, with the purpose is the first lane of this 5-lane highway to motivation. His purpose, and if he tells you, I'm doing this because I love patient care and I love working for this company, and the company's ideals are great, and so I'm in sync, with the objectives of this company. This is nothing more than elegant BS. His purpose is his purpose. That is what is what matters. Everything else is secondary. So forgive me if it looks like a little out of sync with the culture. Forgive me, I've been out of this culture for some time. So I have adopted, parts of, and not all of this, I'm still Lahori in my heart. So parts of this culture wherein when someone tells you that I have adopted your culture, we take it, with a pinch of salt. Respecting their purpose. And if he's being honest, I need to earn money. That is his purpose. And that's fine. Because if he is for, and he needs that money, for an upgraded life, There's nothing wrong about it. And that should become your purpose too. And show that respect to your employee, to your subordinate. Yes, your purpose. I respect that, and I'll help you achieve your purpose. And now, this is where you are building that trust with your employee. So this is the first of the 5-lane highway to motivation. Because, once, you start on this highway, there comes a point, where your purpose and your employee's purpose converge, and they merge at some point, and then it becomes a common purpose. And that is the ultimate objective. But in order to get to that point, you have to start, with building that trust, building, that, this guy is interested in me. He's not imposing his interest on me. He's interested in me. He's interested in my livelihood. He's interested in my growth. And I'm talking about genuine interest. You cannot fake trust. The trust has to be genuine. When you're talking about, all right, I'm interested in your purpose, show me the evidence. Words alone don't show trust. What have you done for me to make more money? That is my interest. Okay? Have you gone out of your way to help me out? All right. That is where you show that you are on the path to gaining their trust. So this is the first and foremost. The purpose, his purpose is his life. His purpose is his family. His purpose is first and foremost. Everything, comes after that. So once you show respect, it doesn't mean you simply, take all accountability away. It just means that you are gaining his or her trust by showing a genuine compassion for his needs, for his interests. So this was the first and foremost, first lane of this, 5-lane highway to motivation. The second lane of this 5-lane highway to motivation is what we call autonomy. Autonomy meaning that you are giving them the authority, you're giving them the power to make small decisions of their life. Small decisions of their work life. Are you giving them the authority to sometimes, once a week, something like that? There was actually an actual thing is called the FedEx Days. FedEx Days, there was a company which in Australia, they practiced that. One day they said, folks, on this day, do whatever you want, the way you want it. You want to work from home, or you want to go your own way, or you want to come to a meeting instead of physical coming to the meeting. You want to join in online, whichever way you feel like. I'm giving you, for that one day, I'm giving you the autonomy. I'm giving you the power to decide your way. That day, you want to talk to a doctor over the phone? Go ahead, do it. That day, you want to take a chance and actually, take your, just spend time with your family? Fine. Leave that, and I'll know. Culturally, it's very difficult to say, oh, you are asking us, to spend time on your own, and we are paying for that? We are basically talking about giving them the autonomy for that one day. In any way, shape, or form. If you cannot go that far, all right, give them autonomy in some other way. Can you ask them to make fewer calls that day? Can you ask them to whichever way they decide? So if you give them the authority to make small decisions for their life, that will improve their self-esteem. And once because now they know who gets to make their own decisions, right? You're the bosses here. You get to make your own decisions here, right? But don't you feel good if someone, who is your boss gives you a freedom of choice? All right, for one day, do whatever you want. You tell me what you do. So likewise, if in this hierarchy of things, if you give autonomy for making small decisions in life, that will help the sense of belonging to an organization, which is the ultimate goal. I belong here because I can make my decision. In my home, I belong there because I can make my own decisions. It's my personal company. I belong to my company more than anybody else because I can make my own decisions. Making your own decisions allows you to belong to some place. And that's what makes people get up and make a deliberate effort. The thing that we were talking about, making a deliberate effort to achieve a goal. So autonomy is a something. Because if you don't give autonomy, then you are responsible for the outcomes. If you give autonomy, now the person who's making his own decision is also taking responsibility for the outcomes. So you are not only making them responsible for the process, you're also making responsible for the outcomes of that autonomy. So autonomy is not a free for all, do whatever you want kind of a thing. Autonomy is now you're accountable because you decided it, right? You own it. So ownership instills responsibility. One is, now this is my favorite. And I know this is called competence or mastery. And I know a man, and I'm talking about the trade that you are in that place. That man was good. He was damn good at what he was doing. He was a master. He was competent at doing. And you know what? And I'm talking about those days. He spoke, King's English. He would talk. He would go to doctors. The doctors actually would love to see him because he was so good at not only just the expected, not only just what he was doing in terms of presenting his products, his instruments. He was good at so many things. And that mastery came to him through constant learning in life. Because he was learning in not only just one area of work, he was good at so many things that there was an element of curiosity about him. The doctors and the people who wanted to see him, they wanted to see him because he was bloody. He would tell them something they didn't know. Every time they would come to him, they would give him something, that gentleman would give them something new. That curiosity is the basis of making you feel good about your work because people want to see you. Now, I'm pretty sure, that, and tell me if I'm wrong, that still your biggest headache is getting a time from a doctor. Isn't it true? Am I right? That, getting a doctor's attention is your biggest problem. Is your employee's biggest problem. Because your employee going there to a doctor, in 99% of the time, the doctor knows what he's going to talk about. Why would you spend some time on something that you already know about? What is something? Tell me something I don't know. What new you brought to me? What is that thing that I don't know that you're going to tell me today? And that requires a constant, lifelong learning. That man could talk about politics. He could talk about literature. He could talk about, international affairs. He could tell them stories. He was so damn good. He was so interesting. And that's why the doctors waited for him. And his colleagues in love, were spending time with him. And that's how he was not only selling good, he was having good time doing all of that. Because that's exactly is the missing part. People get bored with the expected. Tell them something they don't know. And honestly, we're all human beings. These doctors, they're not sitting there just to listen to your product presentations. Tell them, something about their children, how to raise their children. Tell them something, that probably they don't have time to go about. These doctors are really very monoscopic in their lives. If you look at their schedule, it's all, very myopic. It's very limited in its exposure. So you have an opportunity, but that means you have to now spend time in going about and learning about everything. And you and your employees are very fortunate in this respect, that you have access to all this technology, wherein you can access information that they didn't have access to. You make use of all those resources and share it with your with your peers, with everybody around you, and you'll see that alone will not only expand your network, it will also make you that person people would love to spend time with. Mastery even in your subject area. Let's say if you're selling products on mental health, how well do you know about mental health? How depth is your knowledge about mental health? Do you know as well that your doctor should be able to listen to you? If you're talking, and I'm not talking about going and going to a college or medical university to get that level of knowledge. You can get all that knowledge from the resources, and the one sitting right in front of you. Amr can tell you so much about all of these things. So in doing all of that, when you have this mastery, you have a sense of making progress, because now what you're going to tell them with the level of competence, no one else is able to give that level of competence. So mastery and competence is the third lane on this highway. And the fourth lane on this highway is what we call challenge. Challenge means I would hate to do something that I can do easily or I can postpone. Give me something challenging within what we call my zone, my Goldilocks zone. Goldilocks zone is an area of your competence, which is a little above your expertise, a little above your expertise. Something that's not far high above my expertise, but is slightly above my expertise. If it stays within that level of challenge, I know I can accomplish this. Final, which probably you all are responsible for, is the feedback. Offering constructive feedback, and when I say constructive feedback, it's not criticism. We're talking about encouraging positive feedback is the boss's responsibility. Then whose responsibility is it to provide critical feedback? Leave that to their peers. Engage their peers, their compatriots, the people at their level. Engage them for critical feedback. You can save your critical feedback for critical moments. But if you are meeting with your subordinates every week or multiple times a month, I would suggest leaving the critical feedback to their peers. And how would you arrange that? You would arrange critical feedback in smaller teams of about 4 to 5 people. If they work in teams of 4 to 5 people, let them offer that critical feedback. You reserve your critical feedback for critical moments, because you are there to gain their trust. You should become their go-to person if they find a challenge in the job, if they find it difficult to do their job. You should be their go-to person, not a person to hide from. And I can, again, without putting anyone in spot, I know most employees pray, hopefully, he's off today, or, he's not at work today when I'm going there. So to avoid that, once you have attained that level of trust with them, then critical feedback becomes something, that can be taken to heart. So if I could just recap, the 5-lane highway talk about, the first one is purpose, not your purpose, their purpose. The second one is autonomy of making small decisions. The third one is competence, mastery and competence. give them time, and also give them the resources to go to be master at whatever they're doing, and master of not just one thing, master of so many things. And the fourth highway is the challenge. Giving them tasks that are challenging, not the menial, same old kind of a task within their Goldilocks zone. And the fifth one is feedback. Give them the feedback that is arrange feedback from their peers, and reserve your feedback for critical moments. So after this, I'll invite a couple of questions. Who's the bravest soul of all? I want to see who's the bravest soul.
Clapping for.
No. I don't need applause. Applause, applause can come later. I can ask questions. Go ahead.
Any question? Please.
And listen, you can, like Amr said before, ask me in Urdu, ask me in Punjabi. I'm good with all of that. Haji, bolo. Gigi. So a big hand of applause, for this bravest soul who came forward. Inke liye taaliyan. It's not easy to come forward.
I have two questions.
Yes.
First question is about your second lane, that is about autonomy.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the first one.
Yes, what are you saying?
The first question.
Yeah. First question is about second lane, which is autonomy. You have mentioned it's nice to give autonomy to your juniors, and you have mentioned specifically that we should give autonomy in small decisions, small things. Okay, should we limitize up to small decisions, or should we give autonomy in all matters? Second thing, most of time we are running with the new employees, new juniors. They are not properly trained, and we are not sure about them. They are either so honest, so competent, or so loyal to the company. Whenever we give them an autonomy, sometimes we feel the problems that they misuse the autonomy, and problems are increased in our organization. So, should we limitize to small decisions, or we should go to every decision? Second part, should we give autonomy before properly train our juniors? If they are not properly trained and we are not sure about their honesty, about their loyalty, then what should we do? Should we wait to train them, or should we give them to autonomy? This is the first question. After then, I will repeat the next question.
Okay, excellent. Excellent question, because this is practical. Yes, there was a reason I said small decisions, because we are talking about taking these baby steps. It's the first step. If you give a carte blanche autonomy to the entire group, people who are not ready, because like I said, autonomy is synonymous to accountability. So autonomy doesn't mean, yes, because it could be misused. If this is left to the hands of the untrained, and if it's left to the to the discretion of the untested. So your new employees are untested and probably untrained also. So yes, baby steps. When I say small decisions, I'm talking about small decisions. You decide what a small decision could be, instead of saying, all right, I mean, I think the biggest could be, all right, if you can make, you decide how many calls you want to make in the morning and how many calls you want to make in the evening. Because let's say I will wait for the outcome. I want to look at the number of calls you are making. Tell me the outcome. If I'm expecting a certain business in 1 week or 2 weeks, all right, if I get this much of business, I wouldn't care how many calls you make. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. You decide what a small decision could be. This could be a big decision for you, but for new employees who are untested and untrained, I will look at what a small decision could be. And in fact, honestly, sometimes, instead of you telling them, just saying this, what do you think? You tell me what should we do? That alone is a decision. Then instead of you telling them, asking them for something they would own. Because when you are giving them the autonomy to decide, you're also giving them the responsibility to take ownership of the outcomes. So in that case, it's not an autonomy for free. Autonomy has a built-in mechanism for accountability in this. So yes, small decisions only, at least for the beginners. And as you develop the level of expected outcomes, for example, in my life, I have this principle: I do not make promises. I have, in my personal life and in my work life, I don't make promises. And always, the answer is, my promise is in my past. I will do exactly the same way I've done in the past. That is my promise. If you want to see my promise, how I have dealt with these things in the past, that's exactly how I will deal with it in the future. So now you see, this is the level of trust that you develop, that people don't ask for a promise, don't ask to look at your report cards, don't ask to look at your daily reports, because they know you will do exactly the way you've always done before. Have I answered your question? At least the first one.
Thank you. And I have learned another thing, that we should never make promises. Our past is promise.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. I don't make promises. No cursing, no cursing, and no swearing.
Yeah.
Abhi kasam nahi khaiye. If you want to see how I would do it, look at my past. That's exactly how I do it in the future.
Nice to listen to this line.
All right. Thank you. Next. Yes.
In fifth layer, you have mentioned that we should preserve our critical feedback, and that should be preserved for critical moments. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Whenever we discuss feedback with our juniors repeatedly, and we try to discuss frequently, sometimes we get negative response. They feel that our seniors are discussing these things repeatedly. They are mentioning these things with continuous times. So should it be with intervals, or it should be frequent, or it should be time specific?
Because part of your question I couldn't hear properly, but I'm guessing that you're asking that the feedback that you're giving, the critical feedback that you're giving, your employees become, or your subordinates become used to that, and it has little impact. Am I right?
They could catch. Yes, you're right.
Yes. So that is exactly what for, I've asked to limit your feedback to critical moments. If you remember, वो हमारे वो पुराने बाबे होते थे ना, जो रास्ते में पड़े हुए हैं, जो भी आता जा रहा है, ओए मुड़िया तू खांगना क्यों है, और मुड़िया तू परंदी होके क्यों नहीं लगता, तू सीधा होके क्यों नहीं तोड़ता. Things like these, when the people become used to that, they know, okay, this criticism is going to come to us. In order to make your criticism valuable, you have to give smaller doses of criticism. It's just like any medicine that goes in your bloodstream. If you give it frequently in higher doses, a resistance will develop. If not resistance, you will have some sort of at least insensitivity to that advice or to that criticism. To avoid that insensitivity, That's why I'm suggesting a mechanism of peer feedback. Their peers should be able to give that critical feedback. Yeah, you didn't do well on this one. Looks like you are falling behind on your deadlines, or you're falling behind on this target. Let's do it within that team. And you don't have to be privy to that conversation. You don't need to be privy to that conversation, because you can still see the outcome. Okay, bottom line is, have I achieved the results? Have I achieved the targets, for that month, or for that 2 weeks? So you have access to that, but let them arrange a mechanism of peer feedback, so that you could keep your feedback for critical moments when now it is, man, this thing is out of control now. So let's get together and go over where the things are going wrong, where we are, where we see the product. Is this in the competence? Is this in the drive? Is this in the quantity of work? Or is this in the quality of work? So then you start, and naturally you don't wait until then. You keep an eye on that, and you can see, from your day-to-day interaction, with that person, what is the level of comfort? What is the level of competence in that person? And if there is something, that you need, all right, bring them in, for a quick training. And training don't have to be elaborate. Just a drive, with them to work or from work alone, can give you the opportunity to get that feel, if there is a training required in certain area. And honestly, I'm telling you, and I would love, if we could come back sometime, and I'll give you a session on just negotiations. People are scared of negotiations. People are scared of talking to other people, especially the people who they look up to, who are superior to them, who are more competent than. There is an intimidation of talking to people like them. We can, through those trainings, through that support, we can empower them to overcome these fears of not being given any importance. And most of the time, their demotivation is because of that fear. The fear of not being heard, the fear of not being important enough, not being big enough, not being strong enough. So your support is needed to make them competent enough, strong enough, so that they can go out, man, this is just a second nature to me, to have difficult conversations, to have difficult negotiations. And I would love to have a session on whatever you call, high stakes negotiations at some point in time with you. If I could ever stop by Lahore or wherever you are, Karachi or wherever, love to have a conversation on that topic. Next question.
Thank you.
Is there, I would, if I may request, if there is a female attendee in this group, I would love to have a question from a female attendee in this group.
There's a mail coming, and then it will be followed up.
I'm sorry?
We have two marketing persons who are females. They are group product managers, and once this man who is a rural head in Quetta is getting some questions, and then they might also ask you two questions who are from the marketing department.
Excellent. I would love to.
Okay, thank you. My name is Basibullah. I have a question. You have told us that in second line of motivation, that obey the purpose of your employees or your subordinates. Okay, sometimes there is a problem that you know that the purpose of your subordinate is not okay. Means there is it's not good for him. It's not good for the institution. But he sure about his purpose that it is okay. So in such a case, what should we do? If you convince him, but he is not convincing, but he is very sure about his purpose, that he is thinking in the way is okay.
first of all, this is the first lane of the 5-lane highway.
Yes, first lane.
Yes. Let me tell you one thing. We used to say, if you recall, in very often conversations, people say, I didn't mean to say it what you heard, right? I didn't mean to say it, I didn't mean to hurt you what you heard, or I didn't mean it this way, I actually meant it that way. Whatever you say, the way people understand, that's exactly what you meant. No matter what words you chose, the person who is receiving your conversation, communication, whatever his understanding is, that is exactly what you meant to say. Changing the words around, I didn't mean to say it, it's not going to work. Whether you use this A set of words or B set of words, whatever their understanding is, that is exactly what you meant to say. So if the person is saying, you saying, all right, tell me, the purpose, that's company's purpose, he will give you the words, or she will give you the words that you want to listen to, but that's not exactly what he means. We are talking about changing the person from within. You want him to acknowledge and align his purpose with your purpose, knowing that's not going to happen. He might even say it, all right, I know that the company, we are in a very competitive business, and the company, must be number one in the area of mental health. And I agree with this purpose. And, we should be patient oriented, and we'll the higher objectives. As I said, it's all elegant BS. It's all elegant BS. The real purpose is what is in his heart. And you have to align your strategies to his purpose, which ultimately, and I'm telling you, this is again, in the art of management and the art of diplomacy, they say, you arrange, you arrange setting, or you arrange you arrange what they call a conversation in a way that the person thinks that he got away with it, that he got his way. A diplomat makes the other person feels that he got his way while actually he's getting his way done. So a good manager, a good diplomat makes your employee feel that he got his way, but actually it's your way that you got, but he owns it. He feels good about it. I made him listen to me and I got it. I got away with it. And that is that's what the good managers do. They make their employees feel, that this is their story that has been heard. This is their purpose that has been accepted. But in deep in line, it aligns with your purpose too. And that means that is where your training comes in. That's where the art of negotiation comes in. That is where the art of communication, conversation comes in, where the other person feels, oh, I got my way and I got away with it. But actually it was already your way. That's how we do it. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes, we have no questions.
Dr. Hirari.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening.
Good evening to you. Good morning. Good evening.
Thank you very much. My name is Zavid. And you know very well, sir, that we are working in an industry where change is very constant. And change is always very difficult to accept. So tell me a way to make it very easy for teams so that they accept it in a positive way.
Change management, this is the transformation, the transformative leaders or change leaders change happens only with what we call this, forgive me if I'm using a term that is uncommon, because this is a research term. It's called cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance means that the person who should go through some change feels that the path he has been on so far was wrong. That person has to feel from within that I was on the wrong path. He doesn't have to admit it. He doesn't have to acknowledge it in front of you. Change means change can come from within only if you instill this cognitive dissonance. Man, जिसको कहते हैं ना कि झंझोड़ना, कि I have been, jostled. Something that I've been doing so far is wrong. So yes, anytime, because we are the creatures of habits. We are the creatures of behaviors. We get up at a certain time. We go out to work at a certain time. We must take an afternoon nap at a certain time. We must eat at a certain time. We are the creatures of habit. Changing any habit, whether this is health related, work related, would require unlearning. Unlearning is part of the learning process. So a lot of unlearning comes through cognitive dissonance. Oh man, the food that I've been eating so far, was not healthy for me. And look, where I got now. That comes from within. The persons who go through that diet change, it all comes from within. These are the changes, and we'll definitely, because that will require a whole other session on habit formation, how to undo the old habits and build new habits. And I'm telling you, I think I 100% agree that a lot of the work, the routine that you have is part of the habit in making the numbers that your employees are supposed to make. So yes, create an atmosphere wherein they realize that the existing path or existing process has not been to their benefit and to the benefit of the organization. So change, formation or change building comes again from explaining. You cannot impose changes. If you impose change, that's what happens. And we are in a culture where we are supposed to listen to our leaders, our bosses, and just follow up on that. No, buy in, engage them in the decision-making process. That's exactly what we're talking about. When you engage them in new acquisitions, when you engage them in new procedures, when you engage them in new routines, they will own it. So that's how you, and you explain to them, you're not just saying because we are saving money here. We are implementing these changes because this will be beneficial for you. This will be beneficial for the organization. So once you bring them on board during that decision-making process, they will own the change also. And how to do that and build new habits. And I'm telling you, I've been involved in organizational habit change trainings, and yes, they do end up changing, but only when we involve them in the entire process, and it helps. So that means a lot of me time with them, and being forthright and upfront, with your employees. Once you do that, once you have that level of forthrightness with them, they change. They accept the changes, and because they see your perspective. So seeing your perspective is the goal here. Did I answer that question?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And like I said, the details, would definitely, that means that requires an extra training where how to actually communicate this change how to sit with these people and say, all right, this is what we think. So we were talking about, basically those small sessions wherein, we would model these conversations with these people. Thank you for the question.
Assalamu alaikum. Myself Hira Najib, and I'm looking at your Secretary Division Marketing at Genetics.
Welcome, Hira.
Thank you. Okay, my question is about offering constructive feedback to your subordinates. My question is basically how to be a good go-to person for your subordinate, and what are the things which will help a manager to attain that level of trust before giving that feedback to your subordinate. Even knowing that you're putting all the efforts, the progress and development of that individual, because sometimes critical feedback feels offensive to some people, and they are not ready to listen about that feedback, and they take it a bit offensive, or they develop a conflict about the manager due to that feedback. So my question is basically that how to handle that unacceptance of that of the subordinate about that feedback or your opinion that you're giving about his performance or whatever.
Okay. There was a Netflix show here. I'm not sure if some of you watched that. It was called House of Cards. And anyone watch House of Cards? House of Cards on Netflix? Anyone?
Cards.
House of Cards. Okay. Again, this is one of those things. In House of Cards, this guy, Kevin Spacey, he says, I'm going to give feedback to my boss. I'm now flipping it over, okay? I'm going to give feedback to my boss, and I'm going to say no to my boss. But the problem is, my boss is the president of the United States, and I'm going to say no to him for something. That takes, some heart to say no to the president of the United States. In my line of work, I have been able to say no to many of my bosses, but always with two things in my mind. First of all, I would never ever disrespect their office. So my feedback to my boss is based on two things. Respect for the office, always close the door behind you, because Kevin Spacey closed the door when he said no to the president of the United States. I will close the door behind me and I'll say, and based on what? Based on my competence. My competence is based on not only my area of expertise in the suggestion that I'm giving, in the no that I'm offering, it's also based on my fair judgment, I think is the best interest of the organization or best interest of my boss. If you could somehow, and I'm pretty sure each of you have your own bosses to talk to, and please don't tell this to Ahmed, he's not here, I guess. So if you have to say no to your boss, make sure it's based on that sound judgment, which is in the best interest of your boss. So now, flipping it over to your employee, you are giving a feedback which is based on their interest and organization interest. Their interest, visibly at odds with your interest. For example, if he wants to take a time off, you cannot give a time off, right? So how is that going to hurt the organization? Now here comes a very important element of human behavior, and that's called empathy. I can see your perspective, and I'll teach you how to see my perspective. It's not just one way lane here. It's a two-way road here. I absolutely agree that you don't have time to do this job. And you explained to me, because we have a level of trust, because these conversations are coming, only you have built a level of trust with them. Because before that, it's all, just going to deaf ears. So you have that level of trust and you see that perspective. Now, the person, because it's two-way lane, he will also empathize your perspective on that you need, why you are saying this. So you come with this feedback loop. You give feedback and your employee gives you feedback on their perspective. You come to some sort of an arrangement where both are happy. So I'm not saying that every time you will get what you want, because in this human interaction, you want to get the best out of a person. And the best out of a person is not current. The best out of a person is after you have trained that person. That is the best. Have you done your training? Have you given that support to get the best out of that person? You're holding him accountable. Have you given him all these 5 areas of motivation? Have you given him the support that he needs to become productive, to become accountable? So you give all of these and then you hold them accountable. Then you give them constructive feedback, because he has already received all that support from you. He will know this is coming from a fair heart. This is coming from a fair and good heart. And this is coming from a perspective, where I will be respected in the end. So your constructive feedback will not go on deaf ears if there's been a history of support before this. It will only, if he always says, or she always says, whatever she wants to do, never listens to me. You have to start, within that change within yourself, where am I believable? Am I trustworthy? Am I a trust keeper? Not only just trustworthy, am I a trust keeper? Once you have that, that's what these gurus do. That's what these Sufis do. They are the trust keepers. People open their hearts to them. And then it's not they are solving all of their problems, but just having that relationship opens up for them for change. This goes back to the question. Opens them to change their heart, to change their routines, their habits. If they know this is coming from a person who has been good to me, who has been supportive to me. And I'm not talking about, just, this is, this is what in the guidelines, these are my responsibilities, and I'm giving you that support. I'm talking about human to human support, human to human trust. Did I answer part of your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome, Hera.
I have a question, sir. I have a question.
Sure.
If you find, for example, if you find 2 guys in our team, and one is a good performer, he's the achiever, and second person is also a good performer and achiever. As well as jealousy is the nature-minded and absolute and built-in emotion in the human being. There may be a jealousy developed between both of them. If the jealousy built in them, that would be in 2 ways practically caused. One is the positive way in which say that the performance will be increased, and if the negative way, it will cause between them the conspiracy or other like pullings or other things. My question is that being a how can we deal with those people looking in the emotional intelligence of both of them and for the us that the performance of both of them will be maintained and there will be a settlement or in case of any dispute between the team will be developed both of them.
And an excellent question on emotional intelligence. A part of it, is cultural. Unfortunately, we are in a business which is cutthroat because we think that appreciation and acknowledgement of our bosses is a zero-sum game. If he gets acknowledged, I won't get acknowledged. It's just like saying that in most cases of, if it's a love relationship or it's a personal relationship between two siblings, that an appreciation or acknowledgement of one child is an automatic disacknowledgement of the other child. Because this is the kind of, I think, and probably sometimes unwillingly, unknowingly, we as managers, as leaders, have festered this to instill that competition because it's helping the company's bottom line, right? It's helping the company's bottom line because both are working, right? Cutthroat each other at the expense of that emotional deterioration of the team, because the team environment becomes very acrimonious. To do that, you have to instill that, acknowledgement, appreciation in this office is not a zero-sum game. My appreciation for one does not mean a total disregard for the other. A work in a diligent work, selfless work, and credit-worthy work will be acknowledged for everybody, no matter what. So when you are appreciating the team, so that everyone is acknowledged. So you acknowledge that in terms of a team spirit. But then you're also responsible now as leaders to train them on this area of, what they call emotional intelligence, this jealousy part. That's where, your one-to-one meetings come in with both. If you think that you want to draw my attention, you have my attention and he has my attention. Be honest about it. That to this organization, to this office, to me, your work is highly valuable, and so is somebody else's work. But now, this acrimony between the two of you is hurting the two of you. So, because that is, when you are in the business of growth, you remember that you dangle that carrot, that you have to grow in your career also, right? So the growth in a career depends on a number of things, including how to work with others, how to work with those people you don't like. If a person, and that's unfortunately, it's very common. I used to teach at Aitchison College in Lahore. I remember that. And I was teaching English there. This guy comes in, and he has been there forever. And I'm new. I'm brand new. I was hardly maybe 22-year-old. And this guy thinking, man, 22-year-old guy, teaching English here at Aitchison College, and I'm here for 35 years, and now I have to sit with him. And I knew we come from the same culture. That's why he would feel intimidated by a first-year entrant as an employee. But you change that with the leader over there, the principal over there, change that atmosphere and made him feel that he doesn't have to feel intimidated by a new entrant. And I don't know what he said to that person, but that person who showed whatever acrimony he showed me towards the first few months did change after that. And I never meant to be intimidated. I mean, I was hardly trying to just, save my own job there. Same thing is here. That jealousy is an emotional element. You have to train them to feel secure. Jealousy comes only through insecurity of the opportunities, that I might not get the opportunity the other person would get. No, that once you take that insecurity away, jealousy would go away. And I'm talking about, basically an entirely changed leadership here. So you have a responsibility on your shoulders to create that atmosphere wherein you made both of them feel secure in their careers. It should not be a zero-sum game, that if one person gains something, the other person would have to lose it. And most of it comes, from that element of insecurity. Does that make sense?
Yep, right. Thank you.
That makes sense?
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Yes, I think, yes, one more. I think I'll have to stop it somewhere. It will never close. One more question. One last question.
Listen, I have to finish, this, big cup of coffee, so I'm fine.
Sir, my question is, how to motivate yourself? You are honest and loyal with your organization or with your company, but circumstance or environment is not favorable. Then how to motivate myself?
I apologize, you would have to repeat your question because you were breaking up, so I couldn't hear all of it. I know it's about motivation though.
Sir, my question is, how to motivate yourself? You are honest and loyal with your organization or your company, but circumstance or environment is not favorable. Then how?
Honestly, nothing motivates more than being damn good at what you do. You will always be motivated if you know what you're doing, no one else can. There's no bigger motivation than this. People who feel demotivated at work are primarily those who are not only less than supremely competent in their area of work, they also sometimes they have a life management problem. I would be insincere if I would say, oh, if you just listen to these talks on motivation, your life will be set. You'll be motivated for life. No, it doesn't work that way. If your life is in a disarray as a person, if you have a bad relationship, with your wife, if your kids are not listening to you, if you're not meeting expectations of the people who rely on you, if you are falling behind into deadlines, all of these things impact your motivation. So in order to stay motivated in your life got to be under control as it is. And honestly, it's not that difficult. Bringing life under control is not that difficult. It's just in finding the right people around you and find the right support. I can give and having the right relationships, work relationships and private relationships. Where we live, we have many Indians living around us, and we are the only Pakistanis in this area. But I mean, there are a few more, but we are the only Pakistani of Pakistani descent. The thing is, every time you guys throw a bomb there or here and there, or they throw a bomb over there, we get in trouble. We're supposed to get in trouble, right? Because all right, he's a Pakistani, so we get in trouble here in New Jersey also. But guess what? Not a Holi goes by, not a Diwali goes by, not a Lohri goes by, where these Indians don't invite us to their homes. Why? Because of that trust that you have built with them. They don't care, how bad Moody's doing over there. They don't care, how what is this, going on with their citizenship riots there, citizenship rights, in India. They know that Dr. Saleem and his family is of certain mindset, and they are like family for us. It's all in building that relationship over time. What else would you need from your life when you go out and people are just saying, from the depth of their heart, they are acknowledging your presence, and that is motivation. The people around you help you stay motivated, help you stand up in your life. Whether they are in your family, your workplace, the respect you would get at your workplace, and the respectful environment that you create in your workplace, that alone is the motivation. If you feel demotivated, also take a look at your relationships. I'm pretty sure something is not right in both places. The people who are motivated, they have good friends at work also. Their peers, the other colleagues, they're also their friends. They will love to come to work because they are going to meet their friends. These doctors, these customers, they ultimately, once they are interested in you as a person, they will become your friends. They will like to wait for you. You will like to go to them. But if you are going there because you got to meet this quota, because you have to make 10 calls, and and now with all the geotagging, you have to press that GPS over there once you're there. So all of that, man, I gotta be there because someone would know not be. It's just like a truck driver. You gotta be there. I have to press this. All right, I met Doctor this and that. So if you're going for that, yes, you would have already met the basic requirement of being an employee because you made your 10 calls. That's it, right? But you haven't done your job. You haven't met your target.
I think his question is not answered. What
Say it
he
again?
asked, I think his question is not answered. Are you satisfied with the? No, he's not satisfied. In
Okay.
fact, the question he's asking about that question. And a lot of situations here where somebody is finding himself working very hard and finding very honest and loyal and dedicated and sincere to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
But still, when he interacts with the management, he has this feeling that I am not appreciated and I am not recognized and I am doubted.
Okay.
So this is, I think, an element of kind of gap which he has, or he feels that I am not trusted as I should have been trusted because I am a trustworthy person. I work very hard and I don't do anything wrong. But why am I blamed and why am I distrusted always? This is your question, right? So this is his question, and I think.
My apology. My apology. I think I misunderstood that question. Now I get it.
This is the feeling. I think this is a very important feeling. It exists on both sides. Sometimes it is on the employer side that they feeling that this person is not working as per the expectation, and on the other hand, the person who is doing the job, he feels I am doing all right. So I think from his point of view, what should be the strategy in order to resolve this distrust?
Oh, okay. Got it. I think, now I get it. There's a thing called flow. Flow is that, when you are doing something diligently and you are expert at that, you are in a state of flow. You don't feel like that you are working. You're working because you are in a state of, just doing that job. And suddenly you wake up and you realize, man, looks like, I've done a lot of work. Now, next what? I should be appreciated for that. That is where, because now you are looking for a reward for something that you enjoy doing. You are doing it because you think that is the right thing to do. But if you are doing it for appreciation, you already tainted the good work that you were doing. You were doing the honest work because that is the right thing to do. But if you're doing for somebody else's acknowledgement or management's acknowledgement, that is not the good work, because now you are looking for some kind of appreciation. That's how we make our life less than ideal, because we are always missing something, even after we've done an excellent work, because we were not given appreciation. No, I'm not saying this. Human beings don't get motivated by appreciation. But this is the job of that manager and his training to feel that, yes, I should be trained in appreciating, but I have missed on something. That should not affect your resolve and your commitment to continue doing that good work, because good work you're doing, not because somebody else is appreciating. Good work you're doing, honest work you're doing, because that is the right thing to do. Because that makes me feel, content. That makes me feel good about myself. You are doing this work because you want to feel good about yourself, not for someone else to feel good about you. That comes automatically, but if you search for appreciation, that doesn't come. Trust and all that, like I said, trust is not an event that happens because I met my month's quota, so I should be trusted for next month also. Trust is in your past. It's a long, repetitive experiences with that person. That makes you trustworthy, that this person has been doing this without looking for any appreciation. And I know in a cutthroat business, people who would stay quiet and would not seek appreciation, even after having doing an honest day's work, would be left behind. That is the price of living a decent, gentle life. If you get left behind, you just feel good about your work, and don't be discouraged from doing it any further, because I didn't get the promotion even after I had done everything, because that's what you did it for. You did it because that was the right thing to do. Does it answer your question?
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. I think everybody in this hall has very excitingly and very much with a lot of interest they have listened to this talk. And your talk was based upon their problems which they face on a daily basis. And I'm sure this talk is going to help them a great deal in they've taken their notes, and I'm sure they go back, they revise those notes, and we will appreciate if you can also send me some kind of layout of the presentation you're making, so that they can keep those notes, and then they can keep revising the highway, 5-lane pathway of motivating their unmotivated people. So thank you very much. I think it was a wonderful talk. Thank you. Have a great day, and see you soon. Sometime maybe in Lahore, or sometime again we'll invite you on this satellite talk.
No more talk, without food next time. Listen, okay. Honestly, I thank you from the core of my heart. You have given me the opportunity to learn a lot. I must admit, I have been disconnected, from the culture I grew up in for some time. Although I've tried to my best to create, that environment, to that culture here. but it's not always perfect. Lahore, there's no such thing, as Lahore anyway. So I miss the everything that I've learned is from people like Amir. I honestly, without being facetious about it, without being saying too much, he's a role model for many of your employees, coming from an upbringing from the ground up. He has built an organization of this kind from the ground up. He alone, he didn't need a person like me to talk, but I probably just wanted a different face. Otherwise, he could have told all of these things 10 times better than I could.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for your time, and I think it's about